All right, good morning. I'm going to teach on a whiteboard today. Kind of weird talking to a little tiny camera, but whatever. Strange times. So, today we're going to talk about some sort of level design theory stuff. And we've got the tools, right? We've been working with these tools for 3/4 of the year. So now, as we move towards the end of the year, we're going to kind of start looking at some of the theory and the like the non-technical parts of making a level. So today we're going to talk about or look at sort of level layouts and the primary types of level layouts that we have. So we'll start with the simplest one. That's probably the earliest level layout or design that kind of started the whole thing. And it's called a linear level. All right? Pretty much what it means is that the player is going to start in one location and they're going to go in a fixed path to the end of the game. Now, it does not literally mean the player walks in a straight line down a hallway to get to the end of the game. It very much could be that the player goes down caves and underground and above ground and they loop around and they go into buildings and they have to go through a maze and eventually they end up at the end of the game. So don't mistake or don't take some of these words literally. It's sort of a conceptual thing. So a linear map means that the player starts in one location and we're not giving the player any choices. They will follow this path to get to the end of the game. Okay? So that is type number one. It's the simplest type to make because the player has no options. We're sending them to the end of the game on the path that we have chosen. Linear. All right? Number two, parallel. So what this means is our player is going to start and they're going to follow along and they're going to get to a decision where they can go this way or maybe this way. And these decisions are going to take them through the game. But in the end, they're all still going to lead to the same place. Okay, so what it means by parallel, and I'm just going to quickly kind of finish this up here. What it means by parallel is that we're giving the player a whole bunch of choices. But all those choices are in parallel. They're all going in the same direction. So while it does make the player feel like they've got a lot of decision in what they're doing, there really isn't. This player will come here and he can decide to take, the river or the canyon. And so he'll come over here and jump on the riverboat. And he'll fight his way through the riverboat and go to New Orleans or whatever. And eventually he'll end up over here. But the thing is, what the player doesn't know is they would still get to the same place if they started, if they decided to go through the canyon instead. So, so a parallel map is probably a good solution for what you guys are working on because it's going to give the illusion that the world's a little bigger than it actually is without adding a huge amount of work to the game. This is simply maybe you're in a warehouse and this is fighting your way through the warehouse and this is sneaking through the air ducts and going into the command room and coming over this way. Whereas, maybe this is skipping the warehouse and this is fighting through the warehouse and this is sneaking through the warehouse. So we're still building the warehouse. We're just giving the player a few options to go around it. A linear map would be a lot like your Quakes and your Dooms back in the day. A parallel map would be, kind of similar like your Left 4 Dead levels where, there's a few very minor things where you can take a left or a right or you can go through this building or around this. But overall, we're still getting to this exact same ending no matter what we do. So linear, parallel. All right. Next one is called a ring. And a ring is the player is going to enter the map and they're going to have some objectives. But at the end, they're in the exact same place they started, or very close to it. The best example of this is your dungeons in Skyrim and a lot of the dungeons in Fallout, like Fallout 3 and New Vegas and those kind of games. where you go in through the cave entrance, you do all your stuff, and then suddenly, at the entrance there was like this locked door right here, and you're like, hey, why can't I get into that door? And well, what happens is when you beat the level, you come out behind that door and you open it up, and there you are right back at the beginning of the map. So, so really a ring map is very much like a linear map. We're giving a player kind of a direction to go, but in the end, instead of being at a different destination, we've just looped them back right to where they started. Why? Probably my thoughts on this would be to prevent boredom of the players. Because if you could imagine in Skyrim, if you came into a cave entrance and you fought your way through the whole cave and you got over here and you killed the dragon and the dragon's dead and all that good stuff, but then you got to walk back through the whole dungeon past all the corpses and everything. It might be kind of boring, for some players to go back through this. So by making a ring level, we're able to give the player the dungeon, and then they pop right back out, and we don't lose the immersion of getting here and then teleporting the player back to the beginning. We actually make it sort of kind of make sense that for whatever reason, all the caves in Skyrim or all the underground facilities in Fallout, they all loop back on each other. All right. Now, another type that's slightly more difficult but interesting is called a hub and spoke. Okay, hub and spoke, and so it's pretty literally what it describes itself as. There's a spot on the map, like for example in your game, the player's house. Okay, so we did those houses at the beginning of the year, and some of you were using that as sort of like a beginning of the game. So the player goes from here to the neighbor's house and he gets some gasoline. Then he comes back to his house, and when he gets back there, now he's got the car. Okay, so he's got his little car now, and so that kind of opens up the next level, which takes him over here where he can obtain the secret computer codes, right? So then he brings those back to his house, turns on his computer, and finds out that he needs to go to the lab to get some fuel to do something, right? So then now he's going to go this way and go to the city over here and get his whatever. So a hub and spoke map is where we give the player sort of like a central base or an area on the map that they're going to continuously go back to. And then from there, as they complete their objectives, we're going to unlock different parts of the map for them. This helps the map seem really big without giving the player open access to the entire map at once, which would be an open world. And those are very difficult to make. So a hub and spoke is a nice solution for making a kind of a bigger game world without making a really massive open world, which has its own complications. All right, last one. All right, so the last one is called a network map. And what a network map is I've got all these locations here on the map. And at any point in the game, the player can go to any of them. And they're all interconnected. And I'm not going to draw every single one of these lines because that would take me a while to do. But you kind of get the idea here that on a network map, it is basically open world. It means that from any location on the map, the player can go to any other location with no prerequisites or anything like that. Maybe there's a lock on this building, like if you've played Far Cry, and there's, you have to like find a code over here to open up a bunker over here or something like that. But you can still get to this bunker, and you can get to this place with the code, and if you get this code, you may not know this bunker exists. But the thing is, you can always get to this bunker, so the bunker isn't locked away. It's not something where if I go here and I get the code, then suddenly this magical path appears. That's not how it is. A network map means that you could go here to the bunker, wonder what is the bunker for, and then you fight your way around a map, and then later on you land here, and you get the code to the bunker, and then you're like, oh, all right, so now I know that I need to go back here. So network map most complicated, most difficult for us to do, because the whole map, you have to be prepared for the player to be able to go anywhere on the map at any time. We can't stop them from traveling around the map. So most difficult. Not recommended in a class like ours that's only a few months long. All right, so let's review this. You may want to write these down or take a picture or whatever. So we have linear, we have parallel, we have our ring, hub and spoke, and our network. Okay? So these are our 5 basic level designs. Linear, A to B. Parallel, we're still going A to B, but we give the player some options on how to get there. Our ring map means our player is going to start and end at the same point. They're going to enter the level, fight their way through it, and they're going to end up back at that same original location. Hub and spoke map means that the player is going to have a central location with a bunch of other maps off of it, but they're going to return to that center point every single time, or as they collect different things, it's going to open up different parts of the map. And then finally, most difficult, most complicated is our network map, which allows the player access to the entire game world at any time, which requires a lot more planning and a lot more work. So for your maps, I would imagine most of you are probably here. I would really like you guys to work towards becoming this or this with the maps that you're going to turn in. I would love to see you consider a few alternates. And we see these kind of things where it's like one path might be a battle and one path might be a stealth, or maybe you can take the car or the boat, but they still get you to the same place. And this is just almost like mini missions. We go to the house, we get gas. We go back, we go to the other house. We go back, we go to the grocery store. We go back, we go to the mall. So we've got different paths, but we're still coming back to that same thing. And the end of the game might actually still be here in the center. Once you've completed all the spokes, we come back to the middle. You've rescued your family and you're back home. All right? So basic level layout. Check the assignment today to see what I want you to do with this. And I don't know. This was weird talking to the camera. I'll see you guys in class.